Thank you, Dr. Nana, for your very insightful and educative analysis of the growth of American debt over the last 100 years. Most of the analysis centered on the negative aspect of debt. And there's a school of thought out there that debt is not all bad. There are good debts. So, in your analysis, do we have is any part of our debt good? Or was there a regime that actually created debt that was for the good of the nation? Thank you.
Yes. Always, when the economy goes into depression, we expect the government to take us out of the depression. Sometimes a serious recession, we expect the government to take us out of the recession. One good example was the Great Depression. Lord King advised President Roosevelt to deficit finance, and it was good. It took us away from the depression. From 25% unemployment rate by 1944, unemployment rate has come down to 1.2. By 1945, it was 1.19. So, in that way, deficit financing can take us out of depression. In 2008, also looking at the depression, the recession that we entered, there was the need to deficit finance so that it would take us out of the recession. However, if we create debt, we must have a repayment plan. And that's what I'm talking about. A repayment plan, a plan to pay the debt. When you look at the old debt, that from the Revolutionary War to War of 1812, there was a plan. So by 1835, our debt was wiped out. But then also, the subsequent debt, there were attempts to pay the debt until 1912. So, if we are in a Great Depression, we are in a Great Recession, like the Depression of the 1930s and the Great Recession of 2008, there is a need for deficit financing. So that way is a legitimate way to bring the economy up. But what I'm trying to say is, whenever debt we create, we must have a plan to pay the debt. Other than that, we are putting American future in a disastrous way.
I'm Professor Barbara Purefoy-Selden. Dr. Nana, your research has revealed that Republican leaders have contributed enormously to this existing debt. So how can Republican leaders solve this problem if given the chance to govern?
That is a good question. To pay the debt, first of all, we have to balance budget. The Republicans have one of the solutions in solving the problem, and that is expenditure reduction. They want to cut off all social programs, or cut some of the social programs, so that people will get to work and increase income, and the government can get revenue from them. Also, when they cut down the social programs, which are not significantly for Americans' development, then that will also go and reduce the debt. However, if they want to cut down the social programs, are they willing to cut down the military expenditure for offensiveness? Offensive military expenditure is what gets us into more trouble. So, if they cut down the social programs are sometimes good. Because if you give the money to people who don't have, they will use the money to buy things in the store, empty the stores. Business will produce to fill the stores. So it generates economic activity. However, if you give money for offensive purpose, that one, the rate of return on investment is always zero or negative. So the Republicans have approach to pay the debt through expenditure reduction. They also have a plan of raising revenue, and that is the tax cut policy. Tax cut is not a bad policy. It's an expansionary policy. And as an expansionary policy, the rationale behind is to expand the economy, but the recipient of the tax cut money also has a different rationale. That is, if they receive the money, and assuming a bank somewhere in another country is offering 20% rate of return on investment, and if they produce in America to hire people to work, and the rate of return on investment is 2%, where do you think they're going to invest the money? They will invest it where they will get higher rate of return on investment. So they are also rational. And so if you cut down taxes, the recipient you have to regulate so that the tax cut money will be used for the purpose of which it is meant for. In that way, Republicans can do a good job. But the tax cut policy has been applied since the Great Depression. It has never resulted in anything good. It rather leads to debt. Like I said earlier on, when you look at the tax cut by Hoover, it could not solve the Great Depression problem. When you look at tax cut by Reagan, it increased the debt astronomically to $2.8 trillion. When you examine George H.W. Bush tax cut, it increased the debt also to $4.4 trillion. And then when you look at second Bush, the son Bush, oh my God, he was so impressive. But look at what happened when he cut down taxes for the rich. Tax cut is not a bad policy, but when he did, he left behind almost $6 trillion debt. So they have to re-examine the tax cut policy and see how, if it will work, by the rationale upon which tax cut is meant for.
I have a question. Felix Selden, Dr. Asante, is there any way the Democrats, when given more time, can reduce, if not completely eliminate, the national debt?
Excellent. To eliminate the national debt by the Democrats, which means if they are given a long period of time. Long period of time, yes, if Americans discover a problem which is a danger to the society's existence, they always find out which group has solutions to the problem. It has happened in history, like in the early beginning, Americans were looking for what type of government would suit America. And they think democracy is the type of government that will suit America. Should it be one-party states or two-party states? George Washington himself never believed in two-party system. To him, America should go with one-party state. To Thomas Jefferson, democracy can be a type of government for America if we adopt two-party state system. As a result, America saw that the Democratic Republican Party has a solution in establishing two-party system in America. So they voted for Democratic Republican Party for 28 years, from 1800 to 1828, until Andrew Jackson broke away and formed the Democratic Party and won election in 1828. So for 28 years, Americans voted for one party, which led to establishing two-party system in America. In the 1860s, American industrialization was impeded by the existence of slavery that tied labor to the land. And as a result, the Republican Party, who had majority of the progressives, the American people saw that they can really solve the problem of moving America forward in its industrial program. And therefore, they voted for Republican Party to rule for 44 years out of the 52 years, from 1860 to 1912. For 52 years, Republicans ruled 44 out of the 52 years. And by 1920, America became an industrial power. Also in 1930s, the Great Depression, the Republican approach was inefficient to solve the problem. Americans saw that the Democrats, with Roosevelt as a progressive leader, could solve the problem. Americans voted for the Democratic Party for 20 years, from 1932 to 1952. And by that time, the Depression was completely eliminated. The unemployment rate of 25% in 1930 went down to 1.2 in 1944. So if Americans discover a group that has a solution to solve the problem, they will really vote for that party for a long time to pay off the debt. Then you said, will the Democrats be able to eliminate the debt? Yes, they also have one part of the solution, and that is raising revenue. They know how to raise revenue, and to raise revenue is to increase tax. That is something a lot of Americans don't want to hear. But if you increase tax, you increase the revenue base of the government. So if they increase tax, they have to also reduce expenditure. So to pay off debt, you have to reduce expenditure and increase tax also to increase the revenue base of the government. So in this way, the Democrats, when they are given chance, with the idea of increasing the revenue base of the government, will be able to do it. On the expenditure side, they want to reduce expenditure on the military, especially for offensive purpose. That will also work, because if you reduce military expenditure and you depend on defensive military, then the debt can be eliminated somewhere within 50 years' time.
So if Americans vote for the party that holds an effective solution to debt reduction for a long time, the economy would be in better shape.
Yes,
Correct.
the economy will be in better shape. It will be in better shape because with the Democrats' approach of increasing the revenue side of the government, they will be able to come up with programs that will solve the problem. Like I've already said, if you vote for a group that had the solution over a long period of time, they will be able to solve the problem. And here, do we say the Democrats are going to solve the problem, or the Republicans, or the Tea Party? When you look at the Tea Party, I think at this point, Tea Party is not a full-grown party. They don't have leaders, like the Bull Run Party of 1912, which has automatically a leader. But they are a parasitic party at this moment. So when they become a full-grown party, they will also be able, they will be helpful. However, the Democrat side, as you said, if we give them a long period of time, if they have the solution, the Americans can vote for them to solve the problem. If the Republicans have the solution, we can also vote for them. Whoever has the solution, and Americans identify that group, they will vote for that particular group to solve the problem.
My name is Nanaya Drakeford. I am a college student and a young voter. My question to you, Dr. Costa, is what are the economic theories, principles, or ideas behind the fiscal policies of the Republicans, the Democrats, with specific reference to President Obama?
On the Republican side, the principles behind is what we call the classical economic approach. The classical economic approach is also known as the supply side economics. Supply side economics in modern times is also known as Reaganomics. Supply side economics believe that social programs are wasteful. Therefore, we shouldn't involve ourselves in social safety nets, right? And then also, they believe that you have to allow all businesses to compete. By competition, they will be able to move the economy up. So by competition, they believe in the business sector. The businessmen and the businesswomen are considered as engineers, economic engineers, right? Who can really help the economy to grow. So if you want to help anyone to improve the economy, you have to look at the supply side of the economics. The supply side indicates that set up good business environment, because it's the business people who employ people, right? They set up investment, set up businesses, and improve the economy. So why don't you help them? On the macro side, they have picked tax cuts. If you cut tax for the business people, they will be able to improve the economy. And so that is what is behind the Republicans' approach, that the business side is the one to be considered to move the economy. On the Democrat side, they also believe in Keynesian economics. Keynesian economics is the demand side economics. The demand side economics is to see that the household, the worker, the poor folks should be given enough money to empty the stores so that producers will produce and fill the stores. So they believe that demand determines its own supply. But the other side, the Republicans believe supply determines its own demand. So this is the two dialectical principles working in America. Now, talking with specific reference to Barack Obama. Barack Obama's economy, we can call it cohesive-nomics. There is a force in this kind of economy. Why? Because when he came, Bush tax cut was a law. So he has to accept it as it is. It was a law until 2010 that it has to be considered, and it has to be removed. So, on Obama's side, he has inherited that. And he inherited an economy where he has to push the demand side of the economy. So now he has two targets. The supply side is working with the Bush tax cut. And he also cut down 2% tax for the lower income level people. So with these two direct targets, we see that Obama's economy approach is different. He's not of demand side and he's not of the supply side. Both are working at this time. By in 2010, Bush tax cut has to go. Did it go? The Republicans won the Congress. And they came out with a plan. Either you allow Bush tax cut to go, or you have to let go unemployment insurance. This was very tricky. So Obama decided on unemployment insurance for the meantime. and allow the Bush tax cut to go on. And so this is what we call a dictated fiscal policy. We have the Bush tax cut and Obama's tax cut at the same time. So the demand side and the supply side working at the same time. So you can call it demand shock or coercive numbers. Then in 2012, during the election, Obama went forward with the idea that the Bush tax cut has to go. He won the election, but then there was a political deal. The deal was, if you want to let the Bush tax cut to go, then you have to let it be around $450,000. Anyone receiving $450,000 have to continue with the Bush tax cut. So at this point, he wanted it to be 250, but it stayed at 450. So in this way, Obama's economic principles, right, is both the supply side and demand side at work. So I call it coercive numbers. Other than that, the main economic principles at work is the classical economics and Keynesian economics. Which is which? We are yet to see which one will be more effective. With Obama's one, I hope whoever will be the next president will be able to eliminate one part and stick to the other part. It's either demand side or supply side.
Thank you, Dr. Nana. In your own observation, what are some concrete approaches to solve the national debt problem?
According to my research, number one, with the progressive tax, everybody must pay the appropriate tax. The middle class war must end. Everybody has to pay appropriate tax so that more money will flow into the government coffers. Number two, military offensive expenditure must be cut so that money will also flow into the government coffers. We should not involve ourselves only with the idea of hegemony, the idea of being the only senior superpower in the world, solving every country's problem, and installing puppet kings around the world. Other countries must also be involved in policing the world. In that way, America will be able to reduce much expenditure on military expeditions outside the country. And number three, Medicaid must pay for itself, which means they have to increase the cap so that Medicaid can pay for itself. Number four, there should be reasonable reduction in expenditure by cleaning the system. Take away all corruptions away from the system. Clean the system so that reasonable expenditure will be realized. And number five, we have to boost up the demand side of the economy so that people will be able to buy goods so that business will go on. In that way, we can see that the economy can improve. So what I would say that the tax that everybody should pay should not be only rich people's problem. It should be everybody's problem. If we allow only the rich to pay, people receiving $450,000 is not a small money. But sometimes we say that if we reduce tax, the economy will grow. So don't increase tax. That is okay. But if you increase tax, the economy will not go down in a way. Because if you increase tax accordingly, then the government will be able to have enough money to pay the debt. or to do other things to improve the economy.
This is the end of the first section of our discussion with Dr. Vinep Nana Asante Kankam-da-Costa, based on his book, Who is Fit to Rule America in the 21st Century and Beyond.
Thank you, Professor Barbara Beautiful Sutton.
Thank you, Nana.